Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Memocano. I'm here to show you all some checkmates and tactics. Today, I'd like to show you all a checkmate pattern called the ladder mate. This is one of the most common checkmate patterns that I've done, and that's because it's rather simple. It's a simple checkmate pattern, but it does have a couple of intricacies. It doesn't work every time. There's sometimes that you can get one of your rooks taken or your queen taken or end up in a draw. But for the most part, if you follow the steps, it's actually very simple. So I'm gonna get right off and get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and start with a 2 rooks ladder mate. I'm gonna show you 4 scenarios first, and then I'd like to go into some gameplay where I pull it off in an organic game where I make it happen. So here we have the 2 rooks ladder mate. As you can see, my king is on A1 and I have 2 rooks on the G and H files. The king is on E4. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. They call it a ladder mate because it's exactly that. It's like a step ladder. You go up the board like a ladder, and you'll see. With a rook ladder mate, there's a few complexities because as I start, you can see that if I don't protect my rook, he can take it. He can take it right off the bat. Actually, in this scenario, my H rook is fine, but my G rook can be taken if I move my H rook to the square that I want to move it, like H3. So with a rook ladder mate, sometimes you have to move the rook over to another file, and now we can move H3. We can move to A4. We can move to H5. And now again, he's covering the square that I want to get to. So I'm going to move the rook right back to G4, move it to G6, H7, G8, checkmate. Simple as that. Just that little caveat that you have to watch out for. The rooks can be taken if you don't protect, and you can protect it by moving it to another file or by placing the other rook on the same file as the other one, but you won't be able to continue that direction of the ladder mate. Here in the next scenario, we have a queen rook endgame, but I'm going to, what's going on here? Let's go back. What happened there? All right, well, I'll open up another one here. Practice checkmate patterns. This is Lee Chess, by the way, great website. Here's a queen rook checkmate pattern. And so I'm going to show you, in this case, you have a queen and a rook, and it's much simpler like this, because if you put the queen on the lateral row and the rook on the medial row, like so, you can just start climbing up, and there is no way he can take either. As you can see, the queen is protecting the rook, it's protecting all the squares. There's nothing the king can do, and it's a checkmate. So that's a more simple one than the rook mate, but it also has a couple caveats. That queen has to be on the outside row, and the rook needs to be on the inside row. Otherwise, you can end up with a draw, or you can even end up with your queen taken in certain circumstances. So here I ended up with a draw. It wasn't as nice and smooth as having the queen on the outskirts, on the lateral row. And last but definitely not least, if you get to promote one of your pawns at some point and you have 2 queens, there is no escaping. There is nothing the king can do. I mean, unless you do make a completely silly mistake, you can just in some games you can just pre-move it, and it's very simple like that. And now I'd like to show y'all a organic ladder mate, or one that happened in an actual game. Like I said, it's one of the most common checkmates that I've done. In this game, I ended up using the rook queen method. As you can see, it's a very effective method, and I'll show y'all how to do it in this game. My opponent, he's from Bulgaria. He is rated 677. Back when I played this game, I was rated 728. I played as black, he played as white, and he chose to go e4, and I choose the Caro-Kann. So here, typical Caro-Kann, this is advanced variation. He advances his pawn. I place my bishop on f5, and we're both developing quite nicely here. This is actually a learning principle here. I move my knight twice, and it's not the best way to play. So once you move a piece, you should find another piece to develop, or find another piece, especially in the opening. Once you're in the middle game, late game, you can move the same piece if you have attacking chances and other things of the sort. But at the opening, you want to move different pieces. Here, I choose to pin his knight to the queen. He defends. I blunder here because he can take my knight with his c1 bishop, but he misses it. I correct my mistake. I get a second opportunity. I take his bishop right away. He takes my knight, and then I protect my bishop from his pawn. And here we go. We continue developing. This is where the middle game begins on move 13. Move my knight. He attacks my bishop. I got a great move there, attacking his knight. He takes it. He takes my pawn. Making an accuracy here. Here I'm developing nicely. He takes that pawn, but I get to develop my queen. So this next move is a move that does 2 things at once, right? And that's what you want to look for in chess. You want to look for moves that give you power. And what I mean by that is it allows you to do multiple things at once. So here I move I have to take his pawn, and I can use my pawn to take his pawn. However, I see an opportunity to take with my queen. So not only do I take the pawn, I develop my queen, and I attack his knight that is protected only by his queen. So those are things to look for. He attacks my queen. I take with my bishop, which is a mistake. Here he's up. The computer says he's 5.1 advantage. He takes. Right, so I gave him a bishop here. Okay, so in this game, now I'm remembering correctly, I have to come up with a solution to the problem that I got into. I castle immediately, get my king protected. One of the key factors in a chess position analysis is king safety. I want to make sure your king is safe. As you can see here, though, that move does 2 things. It protects my king, and it also doubles up my battery on the F file. So I have my queen and my rook aimed at that knight that's only protected by one piece, right? So he goes back with his bishop, blunders. I take his rook. I take his knight, and he checks me. I protect with my queen. We're going back and forth. I attack his queen. He moves away. I attack his queen with my knight, which is a really nice move in my opinion. And according to the computer, it's a great move as well. All of this is leading up to the ladder mate that I'm about to show y'all. I want you to see that once the ladder mate starts, it's very hard to stop. Once it started, and it's a double-edged sword, because once it started against you, it's very hard to stop. So here I fork. This is another teaching point here. This is a fork. I fork his knight on his queen on G3 and his bishop on E3. He protects his queen. I take his bishop, which is a mistake. If you want, and now I take his queen, because if he takes my queen, I get a free rook. I have a free rook, right? And so now I have 2 rooks to his 1 rook. Of course, otherwise it's pretty balanced in terms of pawns, except that he has 1 isolated pawn. All of my pawns are connected. And so, move 29 here. When I take his queen, that's the beginning of the endgame. And so now there's going to be a lot of moves. I start taking all his pawns. Not very exciting things. I try to trade his rook. He doesn't want to. And here we start dancing. I got one of my pawns to the very end. He has to protect it with a rook. And here we go. We're gonna send the other one up. I make a queen. I take his rook. And here's where the ladder mate begins. As you can see, the queen is on the E file, and the rook is on the D file. He moves his king. So here I'm making sure that I do it correctly. Back then, it was back when I was 728. I was a little more rusty. I am a little more insecure, and so it's kind of clunky. But I move my queen to E8. And then move my rook to D7, and now I have the pattern basically set up. His king is on C4, and I just do the typical ladder mate checkmate pattern, and there you have it. This was a very good game. We both played very well. He was rated as a 950, which is better than his actual rating. And I was rated at 1250, so we both played higher than our class, but I came out on top. And just to reiterate, so there was the 4 variations that I showed y'all: 2 rooks, a queen and a rook and a queen, and 2 queens. You want to make sure you know what you're doing with each one of those scenarios. And I'd like to challenge y'all. To show me how y'all do your ladder mate, and if you have anything to add to this video, please share down in the comments. And if you do end up getting a ladder mate, post it in the comments and I'll check it out. And if it's really good, I'll feature it in my channel. So thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.